again. My name's Diane. I'm an addict, and I am from Toronto and the Central Lake area. I go both ways, and I'm not advertising. I'd like to start this meeting with Ronnie from Hamilton. Ooh. So, okay. Go ahead, take it away,
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm quite loud and I laugh, so I hope that you can hear me. Can you? Yes? Great. And if I'm too loud, I'll see your faces. I am an addict. My name is Ronnie. Wow, this is so different. I thought I would never speak on a women's panel. I'd always used to sit in the back in the row. Like, being around women was very difficult for me, especially like women that possibly, I don't know, share the same DOCs, maybe have the same background. And I am nervous as shit, like shaking, like this whole, I don't know. So I don't know, I was told that if you have public speaking, you're supposed to like envision everyone naked, so yeah, you're naked. No, I'm good. So I only have 15 minutes, and I don't know how my ADHD brain likes that, but I'm going to try and give you some sort of message. And it's not about me up here. It's about, me being a conduit for whoever needs to hear a message. So I'm going to start at the beginning. I was born and raised in Sault Ste. Marie, in a household of, I guess, very toxic. My mom is a functioning alcoholic and has been and still is. I was born with a single parent with an every time he's in the Sioux dad. I do believe that my mom was a scorned woman, so she ended up grooming me to say that my dad sexually assaulted me at the age of 4. And to this day, even, my dad was at my second year, and being clean for so long, I know, like, your body remembers. I don't have that feeling, like even memories of my dad, I know that he didn't do any wrong to me, like my biological dad. So growing up on the res, you get into some things, and at the age of 13, I started doing some gasoline. It was great. And then, smoking at the age of 11, and I'm not going to bore you with all the details of using, because I think we all know what that is. But just to say that I was in a household with a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of partying, a lot of fighting, and that was okay. A lot of people talking about other people, well, my family, two-faced. And what I grew up in, I became a product of my environment. So the way I handled situations was through violence, and I was okay with that. Like, I was okay with punching you. Even if you were pregnant, if you were old, if you were a man, it didn't care. So at the age of like maybe 12 to 15, I was always in and out of jail, and I was comfortable with that. Like, more I think back about it, the more my disease, like I didn't even know, like was present, because I got attention in jail. I got attention in jail. Like, I wouldn't say like that kind of attention, but it was more so like care attention in YO. They wanted something better for me. It wasn't until I was the age of 15 I ended up stealing a car and didn't want to go home because my mom would literally beat my ass, like legit, like she abused me. Caused a lot of trauma in my younger age. And at the age of 12 to 15, my mom was a single parent and had rando men coming in and out, and was never home until a gentleman from the States started seeing my mom, and it seemed like he grounded her, and we started doing like family things, camping, whatever. She was home, so I was like, oh great, this guy, stepdad, woohoo, someone I always wanted. I always wanted to feel that love and belonging from a man, like a dad, right? That feeling that you get. And he started coming into my bedroom. And I would wake up with him doing things to me that an older man shouldn't do to a 14-year-old. And that kind of gave me, I don't know, I knew it was wrong. Like, I knew deep down that this wasn't okay. And I didn't know really who to go to. So I kept it a secret. And at that age, between 12 and 14, I did prostitute for cigarettes and did other things. And was comfortable doing that. So at 15, I was in a holding cell, scared to go home because I was going to get beat up. A friend of mine who was my co-accused told the police that I was being sexually assaulted by my stepdad. And then boom, it opened up a big case. I went into foster care for a year and a half. And I remember being in foster care and telling my mom I did not want to go home if he was still in the home. And while I was in foster care, she married the man. And he is still in my childhood home. I literally just had lunch with my mom and my stepdad. It's thanks to Narcotics Anonymous that I am able to be in the same room, to be able to have some sort of love for him. I don't need to carry that anymore. I don't, because it's not me that I'm laying with at the end of the day in the bed with. I'm laying with me and my husband, What's important, and thank God for NA, because that's what it has given me, is that I matter, that I'm important, and then everything else comes. So fast forward a little bit, about 16 to 18, I ended up leaving care because I was put in a home that was really strict. So I ended up coming to Sudbury. Yay! Living in the shelter system. Hey! And, robbing, stealing, fighting, drinking. So I was one of those people that were out there behind the dumpster, but the thing was I didn't hide behind the dumpster because I didn't give a fuck. Where I was, I would be out playing out in the parking, like a park. I lived a life here in Sudbury. And I wouldn't say like a life, like I lived the street life and I was comfortable with that. And it's funny because I remembered I just went to lunch and I drove up Elgin and that's where I posed as a prostitute and robbed a guy at knife point and then ended up going to jail for it. So like I have a lot of memories here in Sudbury and the way I used to live. I remember the park across the bus terminal, I don't know, Bell Park or something maybe. And I ended up robbing an old man there, beating up a pregnant woman. Yeah, and at that time I didn't give a shit. I did not care the way I was living my life because I didn't care about Ronnie. And all I wanted was to feel love and belonging. And I thought I found that in drugs, alcohol, men. And it's funny, women too. And when I came into Narcotics Anonymous, thank God for HI, because I was in Vanier and a woman came in and told her story and she had great shoes. And I'm like, so if I come here to this program, I'm going to have great shoes. I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing. So I heard a story and I was sizing up the lady because she was pretty. And I come to Narcotics Anonymous meeting, I hear women with women, men with men, and you got to get yourself a sponsor as long as you're not sexually attracted to the person. I'm like, I'm fucking bi. Like, how do I do this? How do I not sleep with my female sponsor? So, I can't go with a man because, So thankfully I picked a woman who I didn't like. I couldn't stand her. I couldn't. And the funny thing is she couldn't stand me either. She couldn't stand me, and she didn't like me. I didn't like her. And then all of a sudden I'm coming to her 30 days clean. I said, "Can you be my sponsor?" And she's like, "Oh, fuck." Oh. So, and she's not here, but she was with me for at least 9 years, and I'll be celebrating 10 in October, and I don't need no. And I don't say that for recognition or a clap, because for me it's a daily reprieve. I was stuck in a pattern for a lot of years because I would come in, I would do great, I'd get 5 months and 9 months, and I'd be like, woo, recovery. And then I would falter, and then I would go back to old behaviors, and then I would use, And then I would want to go back home to Sault Ste. Marie because I know all the drug dealers and I know everything else that I can manipulate and swindle. So I was stuck in a pattern for a lot of years. And I would always hear, get women numbers, get their phone numbers. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I didn't want anything to do with a woman, like, at all. Like, I was also in a abusive relationship on and off with a woman who I ended up trauma bonding with because my brother committed suicide at the age of 18, and I was 21, and that just skyrocketed my using. And I from 21 to like 25, there was no time that I was freaking sober. The only time I was sober is maybe when I was hungover. And even then, it was like a very short-lived because, you know, when you wake up and you're half cut, you're like, woo! Like, yeah! Anyways, not yeah now. But, so when I came in October 15th, 2015, I'm looking at Brittany because we came in like a week apart. And this, you know, I was struggling to get any traction. I couldn't get out of my own way. I kept taking my will back time and time again. And it was funny because I did have a few women in this program. 5 minutes, okay. A few women in this program that I would reach out to. And there was times where I lived in shelter and a woman approached me and said, you can stay at my place. Her name is Sandy T. And she holds a dear spot in my heart. She didn't want anything from me, even though I thought she did. So when I came in October 19th, 2015, I did say 15. There's whatever, it's been so long. I did not listen to suggestions. I seen a very tall, lanky man who was a hot mess. I was a hot mess. We got together. And, well, you know, dating a woman for 7 years and living a life of promiscuity, whatever that word is, I ended up being pregnant within my first year. And who did I call? I called another woman in Narcotics Anonymous to cry and say my life is over. Someone who can relate to me that has 2 other girls. I called another woman in recovery who has 2 other girls. And I reached out to the women in Narcotics Anonymous. And my son is 8. I think my higher power had plans for me, and all I had to do was get out of my own way. And I remember praying to my higher power while dating this man. Now I'm married. Woo. And and I said, please just bring me a man who loves me unconditionally, no matter what I look like in the morning. And I'm going to end with this. My dad at the time was alive, and he went to go see a medium, a spiritual woman, who reaches out to ghosts, like, hey, you! Who talks, I guess, I don't know, as a conduit. And my brother came through, and he apologized, and he's like, I am so sorry, I didn't mean to do what I did, and cause so much pain. And the woman was like, he's bringing a baby. One of your children is going to have a baby. And he's telling me this on the phone. I'm like, it's not me. Like, I just started dating James. This is not going to happen. Like, I don't know. I'm renting a room. I don't have my education, driver's license, nothing. I was like, what am I going to give this child? 2 weeks later, I ended up being pregnant with a boy. And he loves me. And it's sometimes overwhelming. Because, like, I feel like I broke that chain of addiction, of violence, and he has, I don't want to say yet, but he has not seen me high or drunk. All he's seen me is a little upset and yelling at James or telling him to hurry up and put his shoes on because we're late to go to school. I am really grateful for Narcotics Anonymous because it gave me a life worth living, a life that I didn't think I could obtain to, because being in jail, living in a shelter system, fighting, being drunk is what I thought my worth was. And, you know, in recovery, I was able to go back to school, get my education. I went to get my grade 12. I got my college diploma. I drive. Before I was teen transit, and I was okay with that. I was skinnier too, but fuck, whatever. I don't care. But yeah, like, you know, like anything is possible as long, like, they say anything is possible, like, but it is. It truly is. Once you get out of your own way and you're able to, like, go through those fears like I am today, talking to a shit ton of women in here, and there's some men. Nah, that's cool. But, you know, it's possible to get clean and do what's right for you. And, stop. Yeah, so I'm going to end with this. I was always searching for love and belonging, and I found it here in Narcotics Anonymous. So thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie. Let's give her another round of applause. And I'd like to invite Leanne from Shelburne to come up, please.
Breathe. That's so nice. I will breathe. Hi, my name is Leana. I'm an addict. I just want to thank Ronnie again. I remember when Ronnie came in, and she was a hot mess. She's not exaggerating.
Just hot.
But, like, what a change in this girl. Like, I was at her wedding a few years ago, and, like, she's beautiful. And the change that has happened because of this program, like, blows me away every day. So I'm also pretty nervous, but I try to remember that, like, I'm here to just kind of share what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. Ronnie mentioned, like, trying to be quiet, but I'm, like, fiercely competitive, and I feel like we can be louder than them, so don't be afraid to clap loud. Awesome. I love that. For all of us, I love that. Oh, okay, so when I was asked to speak on this panel, Julie asked me to speak on this panel, and I thought she was joking when she first said it, and I was like, I immediately just got, like, choked up, because I still, today, 14 years clean, don't think I deserve to stand here, right? Oh, I'm gonna cry. But, like, and I know that, I remember being in this meeting, and every time I came to a convention, I came to this meeting because it was Diane T, Kathy P, Tony V, like, it was all these women speaking who, like, I looked up to, and I still look up to, and I still don't feel like I'm supposed to be here, right? I just think that that's kind of how it goes. I know that I deserve to be here, and I've come a long way in this program. When I got here, I remember being at this convention, actually, like, in one of my first years, right? Yes! Is that Siobhan? Yes! I remember standing outside, me and you. Awesome. So when I got here, I couldn't stay clean. Like, that's why I came here. I couldn't stay clean for 2 days. I couldn't stay clean for 24 hours, right? I remember being at this convention, and I think I was 3 days clean. Maybe it was Canada that I was 3 days clean. And standing in that room for the countdown, and, like, it's so emotional. Like, I can't wait for tonight to feel that energy again. I thought about what I'm supposed to share about up here, and it was the women's panel, and I, like, obsessed about, like, what do I talk about? What are women's issues? Like, I'm a woman. Okay, so I'm the issue. And I'm like, this is going to go in circles, and I have no idea. I still don't really have any idea what I'm saying. So when I think about, like, being a woman in recovery, there's lots of things that we, as women, like, I don't know, like, they're like people issues, right? I don't want to separate us even from the men, because, like, somebody already said, like, we're all people. And, like, for me, like, my biggest thing when I came in, like, one of my biggest character defects was low self-esteem, right? And I still carry that today. I don't believe that I should be standing up here. And it came up again on step work that I just did. The steps have changed the way that I live my life. God a relationship with a higher power has changed the way that I live my life. The steps have like, okay, let me refocus. Right? I've heard people share before that like, that all addicts have trauma, and lots of addicts have trauma. I don't believe that I had trauma in the traditional way, right? And so I separated myself from everyone for a long time because I wasn't as I didn't like I thought that I should be able to do it on my own, right? I came from a good family. I'm the only addict. Well, I learned later that I have a estranged aunt who's like living on the streets and somewhere, so she's probably an addict. So I've got to find her one day. Hopefully she'll find her way here. So I didn't have any trauma. Like I had good parents. They're still married today. I am a middle child. I have an older sister and a younger brother, and they're not addicts. But like, I think I was the biggest trauma in my life, right? Like from being my earliest memory, I was probably like, I don't know, 4 or something like that. And like, I remember thinking, and maybe I wasn't 4, I don't know how old I was, but I remember thinking when I was very young that it would be better for everybody if I just didn't wake up. Right? And I used to like talk to my teddy bears or whatever, like in my room. And I just, from such a young age, like I didn't feel okay. I didn't feel okay in my own skin. I didn't feel okay with my family. I never felt okay at school in any sort of meaningful way did I ever connect with like who I was, why I was on this planet, like what is this all about? Everybody got this memo of how to live life and I just, like I missed it. And so that was my trauma, right? I believe that I was my worst enemy. And so when I got here, like I got here I came here, my first meeting that I came to was because the guy that I was dating was going, like he had been to meetings before. And that was a very toxic relationship. We were together for 10 years and high most of those years, all of those years. I don't know why I said most. It was definitely all. And so we came here together and he didn't stay and I stayed and hopefully he's still alive. I don't know though, you know. I stayed though. And I remember hearing a speaker talk about like people, like how we all kind of relate to being that black sheep. And the speaker from the podium was like, we're all black sheep, and now we like found our flock, which I thought was kind of cool because I never felt okay until I got here, right? And you guys made it safe for me to feel okay, or just made it safe, right? I got here and I sat in meetings and I realized that like you'd been where I'd been, you'd done what I'd done, you'd felt what I felt, and you weren't afraid to share it. Like sometimes I would hear people share stuff and I'd be like, oh my God, like I can't believe she fucking admitted to that. Like I would never say that out loud. So I wasn't alone, right? I didn't feel alone anymore. And I felt alone a lot of my life. So today in recovery, so the only way that I get today is because of the steps, right? I did my first step 4 when I was 2 months. I had no idea what a resentment was. Like my sponsor told me, like, just write stuff down that like you think about all the time and it makes you angry or whatever, right? If it's something that's going through your head and you're thinking about it over and over again, like write it down. And like shit came out at that point in time that needed to come out, right? Like my step 4 then, I just finished another step 4. And they're all different, right? Like I remember hearing somebody share about like peeling the onion. And so back then I was like my first step 4, I was talking about all of the guilt and shame and the things I'd done and the places I'd been and the things that I'd stolen and getting high and the relationships that I'd been in and the cheating that I'd done and all of this fucking shit that kept me using. And today I get to look at like all of the behaviors that that I still act out on in different ways, but like make my life unmanageable. I have like when I look at my life today, and because of this program, if I had, like, I never imagined my life, I imagined it to be so different, and I'm living my dream life right now. I have a wonderful husband who is a saint because he puts up with me. I quit smoking a year ago and then hit perimenopause. He literally is a saint. Putting up with, yeah, I know. We bought a house. We have an acre. We have 2 beautiful dogs. We have a fire pit. We have a garden. We have a pond. I have my dream job. I went back to school when I was a year and a half clean. And I used to call my sponsor all the time and be like, am I going to use, because I haven't been to a meeting in like a week. But she taught me that I was like spreading hope, right? I went to school and I bettered my life, and I moved forward, and I became that part of the square, right? Society, self, what is it? Society, self, service, and God, right? And that's like a 3D picture that comes up to meet in the middle, and the middle is, and the top is freedom. And so I have to have all 4 sides of that. It's a square, right? Yeah. I have to have all 4 sides of that, and sometimes it's a struggle, right? And sometimes I'm out of balance, and it's maybe more service on one side or more self at another time of my life. Like when I went back to school, there was a little bit more self there. And then when I got out of school, I got to go to more meetings and, get more sponsees or, it's balance is like, it's like it's a never ending juggling act. Like, I don't know. My husband always says it's elusive. Like, I'm not ever going to really have balance. And it's more about me being okay that I'm a little bit out of balance and not being too hard on myself. Because there's a goal, right? I had a goal to go to school, and I had a goal to finish that. Okay, so the other thing that's going on in my life right now, which is a big deal, is that I have so I got married a few years ago, and we have a couple of grandkids, one grandkid and then another grandkid on the way. And I didn't know whether I was going to talk about this or not, and now I'm going to cry again. I didn't know whether I was going to talk about this or not, but part of that like life thing, like as a woman, I always thought I was going to have kids. And when I hit, I don't know, this is awkward, but I know it's a room of women, but when I hit perimenopause, like it all kind of realized that like I'm not going to have my own kids, right? And the steps and people in this program, and really I feel like I'm probably going through it on this stage with you, is that I get to learn that family isn't blood, right? And so I get to love those kids like they're my own. And the only reason I can do that is because you taught me how to love myself. So, okay, I'm going to end with that. I am getting hot. How did you know? I know, it's wonderful.
Let us all give Leanne another hand from Shelburne. And I'd just like to say, it is is a privilege for me to stand up here and chair this meeting, and I want to thank the committees that put this all together and their hard work, and I get to come up and stand and shine in front of y'all and introduce the women. So I feel really privileged. And so with that, we'll have Julie from Orangeville to speak. Thank you.
Hey family, my name's Julie. I'm an addict. What a powerful panel. Very cool. I've had the pleasure of attending Orkna before, and when invited, just really fucking cool to be standing here. I am a potty mouth. I apologize. You should see me when in churches and people, because some of these meetings, God bless them, but they're, trying not to have people swear, and then I walk in and, okay, we're going there. So, yeah. A women's panel, what can I talk about? Well, yeah, I was a cisgendered female. I go by she, her. I am the daughter of addicts. I am the mother of an addict, and if we go through the ancestry, I carry the blood memory. I'm 52 now. When I was growing up, my folks had emigrated from England, so they lived in Orangeville, small town in a semi-detached where everybody on the street was British, Irish, or Scottish. To tell you alcohol was embedded in like the fucking pavement is no exaggeration. I cannot remember the first time I had a drink. I knew I didn't like it. My father always smelled like alcohol and cigarettes. He worked really hard. He got up in the morning and drove to the city. And then I wouldn't see him till, 9 at night after the pub closed. And then he'd come home, takes his socks off. My mother would serve him dinner, and he would eat, place his meal on the coffee table and head to bed. My dad's entire role in life was to play cricket on the weekends, and we all had to schlep to the city to watch him and then sleep at home. And otherwise, we didn't see him. That was my life. My mother was incredibly loving. She had a terrible upbringing in England, war-torn England, very, very low income, outhouse at their home and scullery, washing everything. So she was raised in a convent during the day because my grandmother worked. She was abused terribly. Married my father at 16. They moved to Canada when she was 19. So she was alone, other than these people on our little street. So what was normal was normal. The unconditional love resulted in me thinking the world revolved around me. And my sister, we really didn't know any different. We too had no chores. We had no expectations, etc. And then my mother absolutely broke my heart and ruined my life when she went to work when I was 8 years old. Because nobody was there when I got home, and nobody was cooking anything, and I was alone with my sister, who's 3 years older, and she hated the fact that I'd been born. And so it's funny because the way this program works is, and for anybody who's done the steps more than once, this is a truth, depending when you do the steps in your life, your answers and experience will be completely different. I grew up thinking that I had daddy issues. I grew up in my early recovery attaching everything to my absent father. Absolutely fucking untrue. I was verbally abused by my sister and her friends from the day my mother went to work, and it carried on. And then I sought out people who were very like that because that was familiar to me. And what I've learned, so to give you some perspective, I'm a person who's changed careers an awful lot. Listen, man, my addiction and recovery is my superpower. It's made me understand how powerful I am as a woman. There's nothing I can't do. Nothing. So some of the things I say may come across at first glance as ego. I assure you they are motherfucking not. I have looked through this. I have looked in this lens, and I understand that these are gifts that God has given me to give to you through my mouth, through my vulgar, rude mouth. I just realized what I said, and I was like, really bad. Okay, so high school years, didn't drink. I grew up with alcohol around me. I had tried drinking, didn't like it. But by drinking, I mean I literally probably sipped a gross beer. And I had tried puffing on a cigarette, didn't like it. So I watched all my peers. What I did to fill the hole in my soul, I took up sports. And I was wicked good at shot put and discus. I was on the junior national team. I was training. Because this, in my story, is the one thing that you should know about me is I am highly competitive when I want to hide myself. When I want to hide myself, I'll become the very best at everything. I'm the wittiest person in the room. I will know the most about this, and I will know how to make you come out of your shell, and I will make you the center of attention. And if I don't like you, I'll do the exact same, but in a really negative slant. we are master manipulators. Congratulations, my addict friends. You're actually really brilliant and intelligent. And specifically women, you can read it from a million miles away. As women, we are blessed with these, what I call meat shells. This is what my body is. It's like my meat costume, my meat shell. And I'm pretty badass with it now at 52, but in my teens, I was always heavier. I was a shot put and discus girl, man. I was running with the sprinters at York U, and I'm like, slow down for me. Like, I am heavy, and I always have been. And when you're a teen girl and you're hanging out with some very genetically thinner people than you see them getting the attention, but I wanted the attention, so I became the funniest and the wittiest, and I'm everybody's friend. And I never drank, so I drove everybody home, and I was holding your hair, and if you were doing ecstasy, I got your back, and I was this guy, and what do you need? I'll get that for you. What do you need? I was that guy. And then what happened was I had my first boyfriend, and I fell in love, and we were going to be, at this stage, my elder sister had met a guy at 16, married him at 19. My parents met at 16, 19. Well, I meet this guy at 16. Set. I now know what my life is. Okay? I know it. And then, this dude totally wanted to break up with me. God bless him. It was like 8 months in, and he was in over his head, and he kept trying to break up with me, and I'm like, I'll be at your house at 6. And we would just keep going, and it was like fabulous. Like, he was, because of who I was, I strategized everything, and I would just bring him into an even more popular group that he wanted to hang out with, and then he stuck with me. Because I knew everybody, and I had ins to everything I wanted to be involved in. So I would just manipulate and, make it work for me. And then one day I walked in and he was having sex with one of my friends. And so, I did what we do. I beat the shit out of her, and I threw everything he owns out to the snow. And keep in mind, this is his parents' house. It's not like, And so I did what we do. But then when I went home, I couldn't not look at it. For the first time in my life, I couldn't not look at it. And I looked at it, but I didn't look at it. What I did instead was, in between this period, my mother had been in a car accident. So a few years before this, keep in mind, my father always drank, my mother didn't. She was unconditional love, then working, and then I wanted freedom. During the period in my early teens, my mother had been in a car accident, and she found opiates. Opiates and 60-pounders in our house became a norm. So my mother was really not there. And then my mother was at the pub or the Legion with my father. I had complete and utter personal freedom from the age of 15. The only thing they needed was for me to go to school. So literally I got called to the principal's office, grade 10, Julie, it's one semester and you've got 30 absences. I'm like, yeah, but what's my mark? And I had an A. So there was nothing they could do. So I had this way of, I like to say I was stepping into the darkness, stepping into the light, and I would just keep right there in the middle and have a really good time for myself, not having to look at anything. That was my life. So after that, dude, walk in, see that, can't look at anything, go upstairs, take my mother's opiates, take them all. And for something within me, I guess I don't remember, but I must have called my best friend and said goodbye. And she called an ambulance. So I let go, they pump my stomach, things are resolved. And in the aftermath, the doctor comes in with a social worker. My mother's beside me. Father was at the pub, because as you do. My mother's beside me, and they offer me, I think that your daughter, Julie, could use some support. My mother looks at me, literally my decision. And as I say, fuck that, I'm fine. She goes, no, we've got this. From that day, we never talked about it again until after I was 5 years sober. 5 years clean, pardon me. So I roll along, 20s, didn't go to university, A+ student, honor roll, didn't bother. I started by going to the bars with friends and deeply drinking. That's about when I started drinking, Thursday to Sunday. Like, you don't do anything light. I used to say, go hard, go home. You only live once. All those silly one-liners. But I was working. I was a PSW in a nursing home. I was great at my job because I always was great at whatever I wanted to look good in. And then the rest of my early 20s, I found substances, and slowly but surely, any boundary I had was eroding. And one of the things that I wrote down that I really wanted to speak to is how we as women are taught and bred to use our body as a commodity. And when I say to you that the number of women I have sponsored where I have to rip that out of their, vault in their heart, that our bodies are not who we are. Period. they're borrowed. Our soul is who we are. That's why this program's foundation is spiritual. I don't care what spiritual is for you. If you're running from what you consider to be God, that's cool. I get it, man. It's entirely certain. But know that as you breathe, the feeling that we had when our chairperson asked us to close ourselves and center ourselves in breath, that's spirituality. When we take a moment outside of our physical meat suit and we stop trying to define who we are based on this or even this, when we can learn that intimacy isn't found with another human being, that's recovery. Intimacy to me today at this age, so along the journey I have 2 kids I don't use, and I find my husband, I start to use again, but like crazy, and 36, I am either going to kill myself because I write a goodbye letter in a blackout, and I wake up the next day and I can't ignore it anymore. The Wizard of Oz curtain was opened, everybody knew, oh my God, shocker, and I go to I was a corporate executive flying across, I'm missing flights, but I thought I had it together. Because you keep doing things decently well enough and nobody can point a finger at you. The day came where I pointed the finger at myself and I told the truth. And I'll tell you, I didn't go to rehab because I was too fucking special. No, Julie can't take time off work. What are you kidding? I'm the breadwinner. Please. Nonsense. I could have and should have been there. But I was lucky enough to go to a 12-step program, a sister fellowship that in my town at the time was I could get to 7 or 8 meetings. I could get to 2 meetings a day if I wanted to. So at least I was going to evening meetings. 3 weeks in, because I was still incredibly egotistical, I am an egotistical person with an inferiority complex by nature. That's woven into my soul. And so 3 weeks I was still an engineer. I was still super important. Big, huge car accident took that from me. I still live with a brain injury and physical injuries. They told me I'd never work again. The people in the programs came and got me for meetings. The people in the programs called me every day. They came to my bedside. They started teaching me how to live as a new person, not who I used to be. They started showing me how I'm more than this and my brain and my words, how I matter innately, inherently within this universe. Today we matter simply because of existence. What is our purpose? Our purpose is to sit here, to listen, to absorb, and to find the spiritual path that we're meant to be on. It's not what I do. In recovery, there's no blessing that's been given to me that hasn't been equally as opposite with challenges. You know, the car accident, almost lost my house. I've lost countless friends. I've lost countless sponsees. You know what I mean? Like, so many things have happened in recovery. And I don't even like to use the words gifts, because equal and opposite. Are you in the light or are you in the dark? Because I can sit there and say, oh my God, my parents died within 5 months of each other, and I had to care for them, and it was visceral, and it was challenging and awful. I can be that person. Or I can choose, my God, how blessed was I to have that time with my parents? How blessed was I to be able to go to a meeting every night and find my friends and find my centering and grounding? I guess for me, I'll just end in saying our recovery is intentional. It is a choice. It's not an accident. It's not had to. I didn't have to be here. I don't have to be here today. At any moment, I can go numb out if I need to. And anyway, I'm real good at it with food. You know, I can just continue. I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I'm choosing to stand in my power with recovery, because it's my superpower and it's yours too.
All right, Julie, let's give her another hand. Thank you, Julie. Okay, you know the drill. Let's circle up. We are privileged. You